You're watching RTE 1. It's time now to go to the newsroom with Una O'Hagan.
Good afternoon from the newsroom. 3 young men have been killed and a 4th has been injured in a car crash in Dublin. The 4 were travelling along Davit Road in Inchicore in the west of the city early this morning when the driver lost control of the vehicle. Gardaí are still trying to identify the 4 men.
The dawn of the new millennium marked the first fatal road accident of the year, in which 3 young people died and another was left seriously injured. At 5:15 this morning, the high-powered Ford Escort car in which they were travelling skidded for over 60 yards, flew into the air, hit the Sure Bridge head-on and dropped into the water below. The tyre marks were still visible on the road today. The condition of the car is testament to the severity of the accident. 3 of the young men were killed instantly. Fire crews said they sustained severe head injuries in the impact. The 4th man escaped through the sunroof and is in a stable condition at St. James's Hospital. For 4 families at least, the beginning of the new century will be forever commemorated with misery and heartbreak. Paul Reynolds, RTE News, Inchicore in Dublin.
The long-awaited and much-feared Y2K computer bug hasn't led to any major breakdowns or problems. However, some experts say computer faults could surface in the coming weeks.
After months of preparation for possible Y2K mayhem, the dreaded Millennium computer bug is still in hiding. Around the world, governments say that it's business as usual, with computer systems working normally.
Countries in Europe, including Russia, Africa, the Middle East, Asia, and now South America, have made the transition to the year 2000 with no report of significant Y2K issues in key infrastructure areas. Our indications are that major national infrastructure systems in those countries are functioning with minimal or no difficulties.
In Belgium, the president of the Sabena airline took to the air to prove that the skies were safe on Millennium Night. In Ireland, the chairman of the 2000 Changeover Committee, Charlie McCreevy, said that all key services are operating normally, including electricity, gas, water and ATM machines. Phone networks around the world were congested around midnight as families rang relatives to exchange New Year wishes. However, computer experts have warned that it may take time for problems to show. Small businesses in particular could well experience problems when everyone gets back to work on Tuesday. Until then, it will be impossible to say if there's been a completely successful transition. Eilish Brennan, RTE News.
Large crowds gathered in most towns and cities around the country to herald in the new millennium. The celebrations were mainly trouble-free, with Gardaí describing the levels of crime and rowdiness as surprisingly low. The Coombe Maternity Hospital in Dublin claimed the country's first baby of the millennium. The baby girl was born at 1 second past midnight.
The 1st of January 2000 was celebrated countrywide with some spectacular firework displays. In Dublin, revellers ushered in the new year outside Christchurch and at an open-air concert in Merrion Square. In Galway, a specially designed millennium clock was used for the countdown.
4, 3, 2, 1.
The Accident and Emergency Department in Beaumont Hospital, where some people had not expected to be.
The last thing I thought was drinking champagne in Beaumont.
So we were going to have a big party. We have a new baby this week.
Another new.
With our great grandchild this week.
Celebrating her.
So we would have been all together.
And she's not forgiven me because I came up without a bottle of whiskey. I'll never be forgiven.
And in another hospital at 1 second after 12 o'clock, this little baby girl was born.
It was about 6 o'clock yesterday evening.
When was the baby due?
The 24th of December.
Oh, really? So?
A week over.
So you had no idea that it was going to be?
No idea.
It's my first grandchild, first great-grandchild on my side as well. So, the 4th generation of my family. My mum just can't be here today, but she's very excited. And she's just really looking forward to seeing the baby.
And there was another first to be experienced if you were prepared, like these people, to get up early this morning. The first light of the new millennium. Deirdre McCarthy, RTE News.
New Year celebrations have been continuing around the globe as one time zone after another took its turn to mark the occasion. The island of Samoa in the western Pacific Ocean was the last place to mark midnight just over 2 hours ago. Elsewhere, people have been gathering to watch the sun rise.
If anywhere has a special claim as the place to mark the Millennium celebrations, the Holy Land has. Jerusalem is a holy city to 3 major world religions, each with radically different ways of counting the years. But in a region which at last seems to be on the brink of a new era of peace, lots of people came together for the event. And that included some who thought it might be the beginning of the end, again.
People were saying that something was going to happen, either the mountain was going to split in two and Jesus was going to come back, or the end of the world, or all those things. So we decided to come. If the world was going to end, why not be in the place where it's going to begin to end?
But the world was still going around, and midnight at local time rolled on to the west. It was the turn of Africa and the European continent to celebrate. Of all the thousands of fireworks displays, Paris put on one of the most spectacular. Berlin too saw in the new century in a way that could hardly have been imagined just over a decade ago. As the clean-up was getting underway there and in various other European capitals, others were greeting the sunrise, possibly having stayed up all night. But for North and South America, the party was still in full swing. In Samoa in the Western Pacific, midnight came just over 2 hours ago. It was the last place to mark it. A full 24 hours since New Zealand, just across the international dateline, had kicked off the midnight celebrations. Walt Kilroy, RTE News.
The RUC are investigating the murder of a man in his 30s in Antrim town. He died in hospital of head injuries after being assaulted early this morning. Police have ruled out a sectarian motive for the attack. A woman was critically ill in hospital today after she was blasted with a shotgun in a house in Castle Dawson, County Tyrone, and a man died in an early morning blaze in a house in Derry today. A man in his 40s has been found dead in a church in Dublin. The body was found at the rear of St. Joseph's Church in Berkeley Road in the north inner city. Gardaí say they're treating the death as suspicious. The largest number of asylum seekers ever to come to Ireland in one group arrived at Rosslare Harbour from France last night. The 59 asylum seekers from 3 Eastern European countries and Nigeria are being accommodated locally. The release today of government archives for 1969, including files relating to the outbreak of the Troubles in the north, show that the Fianna Fáil cabinet at the time was almost totally unprepared for the violent events of August of that year. However, a number of key files relating to the period appear to have been either withheld or may actually be missing. Those papers that have been released show disagreements within Taoiseach Jack Lynch's government when violence erupted in Derry in August of that year. But there were few references to events north of the border, and it's clear there was little prior appreciation of the gravity of the situation there. Papers released in London show that the British government was warned in 1969 that the Irish Army was preparing to move into Derry to protect Bogside Catholics. The warning came in a secret report to the then British Prime Minister Harold Wilson from the British ambassador to Dublin. In his assessment of the Irish government's attitude to the growing crisis, Sir Andrew Gilchrist said while Jack Lynch allowed what he called some hotheads to believe that intervention was on the cards, Mr. Lynch would not have permitted it while he remained in office. A peace mass in Dublin has been told that the Northern Ireland experience shows that it's difficult, if not impossible, to make peace while still holding offensive weapons. Monsignor Alex Stenson made the remarks during his homily, which was listened to by President Mary McAleese and the Taoiseach.
President McAleese and her family joined Bertie Ahern, members of the judiciary, the diplomatic corps and the security services, as well as parishioners at Dublin's Pro-Cathedral for a Mass for Peace celebrated by Archbishop Desmond Connell. In his homily, Monsignor Alex Stenson congratulated Bertie Ahern and all politicians involved in the peace process, and he hinted strongly at the need for arms decommissioning.
From our own sad experience of the Troubles in the north, we know how difficult it is, if not impossible, to embrace as brothers while we're still holding offensive weapons.
And echoing Pope John Paul's message for World Day of Peace, Monsignor Stenson asked if it was acceptable that a quarter of the world's population is living today in dire poverty and subhuman conditions. He also underlined the Pope's call for a solution to the debt problems of poorer nations. Joe Little, RTE News at the Pro Cathedral in Dublin.
And that's it from the newsroom for now. I'll be back with the evening news at 6:15. From me for now, good afternoon.